Hello and welcome back. The first official day of summer was June 20. Growing up, summer normally meant that I was being watched by my grandmother and I was watching copious amounts of TV and movies. I remember very vividly watching Lifetime every single weekday where they would play The Nanny and The Golden Girls over and over again up until noontime, and then they would play a 2-hour block of unsolved mysteries, and that's what I would do every single day. And honestly, I love that. I had a great time in my summer as a child, but when watching like Nickelodeon movies and TV shows along with Disney Channel movies and TV shows, they would always show like kids at summer camp, and I always thought, how fun would it be to be at a summer camp with fellow kids? And then I remember I'm not a huge fan of outside, and I was probably better off in the AC with Fran Dresser and B. Arthur.
Oh, Mr. Sheffield.
And then as I grew up, I started really enjoying like horror movies, and a lot of them took place in the woods at summer camps, and then it got me thinking that I'm really happy that I never went to a summer camp. Now I give all of that backstory and context to get to a show that I recently found called Killer Camp, which is kind of like a horror movie meets a reality TV show, and they like just exploded onto the CW. Now the premise of Killer Camp is that 11 campers come to hang out, play games, try to win some cash, but they start dying one by one, and they find out that there is a killer amongst them, and what they have to do is try to find who the killer is, vote them out, and they will be walking away with some cash. But if they cannot find out who the killer is, then the killer gets all the winnings. Now Killer Camp originally premiered in 2019 on ITV2. It was billed as a Halloween special that ran for 5 consecutive nights. The CW liked the idea, licensed the first season, and that's how it came to be shown on US TVs in the summer of 2020, which I'm sure was odd timing by the time they got to like mid-April and they got to the 5th episode and they were saying Happy Halloween, and it was just Halloween themed throughout the whole time.
Happy Halloween, Bruce.
Now, when I happened on the show, I was pinching myself because I love horror movies and I love reality TV shows, especially British reality TV shows. So I was excited, but I wasn't necessarily sure of what I was getting myself into. Now, the show starts off and it has a very 80s feel to it. We get to know some of the cast from quick lower thirds and little blurbs, and we find out that the show has all the classic horror character tropes in it. We have the tough guy, we have the beauty queen, we have the diva, the nice guy, the outsider, the joker, the film geek, the vegan, and the forensic nurse. It feels a little weird how they decide to describe everyone on the show. Normally, shows either do people's jobs or something about them. Here, they either give them a horror movie trope or a description about them, or something completely random. Like, I understand Rob being the film geek, as his job outside the show is projectionist at a theater, but also he can be viewed as Randy from Scream, which later on in the show, he actually is talking about the 3 rules from Scream.
Like 3 rules. This is like the classic rules from Scream.
But when we take a look at Sam, he's the chef, but they decide to label him the vegan, which isn't like a classic horror movie trope. It's not his job, it's just him and his dietary preferences. And the bus arrives at Camp Pleasant. Now, when doing some research for the show, this is actually being filmed in Lithuania. So when you think about it, this is a British TV show filmed in Lithuania with a Canadian host and is being released in the US. That is such a wild ride for this TV show. Now, I have to say that the camp aesthetics is perfect. I mean, it looks beautiful. It gives off the perfect summer camp vibe where murders would happen. Now, you might be looking at them saying, wow, the cast is super excited to be on a show that's called Killer Camp. Well, there's a disclaimer that happens on every single episode that says that the 11 people that applied to be on this show did not know that they were going to be on this exact show. They were applying to be on a show called Summer Camp, which I'm sure that was built to be like an immersive adult summer camp where they could like chill out, hang out, and have the ability to win certain cash and prizes along the way, as well as getting a lot of exposure. So keeping that in mind, the campers, I'm sure, were not expecting that just few minutes of setting foot on Camp Pleasant that they would be hit with this. We're starting this season off with a bang! This is when Bobby announces that this is not summer camp, but killer camp, and Fergal, the nice guy slash stay-at-home dad, was the killer's first victim.
That looked like it really hurt.
Let's get more into the format of the show, and in each episode there will be 3 activities or challenges that the contestants are going to have to do along with a campfire ceremony where the killer is going to strike. The first challenge in each episode is going to be for cash. Now, this is going to be interesting as there is going to be a set amount of cash for each challenge, and whatever the campers don't win or leave on the table, that goes directly into the killer's bank account. Now, the grand prize money that is up for grabs in total is $15,000. You heard me right, it's not $50,000, it's $15,000. Now, this is the smallest amount of grand prize money up for grabs on a modern reality TV show I think I've seen in years. Now, I get it, the show's run is only 5 days total, and personally, I would be on this show if the grand prize total was $250 and all the bug juice I could drink. Now, the second challenge is to win an opportunity to see clues about the killer's identity. And the third and final challenge is for immunity. So one person is gonna win immunity for the campfire ceremony to where the killer can't touch him, and then whoever wins immunity can get a +1 immunity and keep them safe as well. Now, the major bone I have to pick with Killer Camp is that they have hour-long episodes, 45 minutes without commercial breaks. And so with that being taken into account, 3 activities slash challenges and a long drawn-out campfire ceremony at the end, it gives us little room to be listening into other people's conversations and trying to figure out the killer for ourselves who are watching from home. The whole point of a whodunit is trying to figure it out, and that's the fun part. But because there's so little for us to listen in on because of how the shows are formatted, we're kind of just like spoon-fed and hopefully getting the right intel from the campers who are having the conversations and who are playing the game, whereas all we're getting from at home is a very heavily edited episode. Let's take the first round of clues that we get, right?
The killer used to collect stamps.
The killer's favourite subject at school was art.
The guilty pleasure of the killer was AVRIL LAVIGNE.
The killer's favourite food is Thai food.
The killer's favourite celebrity is Danny DeVito.
What the hell are we supposed to do with any of these clues if we have not heard anything from anybody? Also, who is bragging about this stuff? Now we get to my favorite part of the show, and it is the campfires. And let me tell you right now, the campfires are where this show is at its peak. Bobby really chews the scenery.
Whoever it was, they didn't see the razor wire until it was too late. Shoink! And the head hit the ground. Blood spurted from their neck hole.
If an Oscar is to be given to a person giving a campfire story, Bobby should get all the Oscars every single year, hands down. In episode 1, Eleanor and Nuri are sent into the woods and Nuri perishes while Eleanor comes back to rejoin the group. Now, early on to the series, everyone seemed to be pointing the finger that Eleanor is the killer.
I've sort of got my eyes set on Eleanor.
Yes.
Eleanor is
Oh my
putting it all in.
This is what I said.
I'm suspecting Warren as well as Eleanor.
My main suspects at the moment is Rob, and obviously Eleanor still. I'm not going to get her off the radar despite the waterworks.
Who are you suspecting? Maybe Eleanor?
Why, you may ask? Well, when Fergal first exploded, Eleanor's first impulse was to laugh, and to me, this was more of a nervous laugh. Also, everyone thought that Eleanor was trying to sabotage the watermelon game, which everyone sucked at, so I don't think anyone can point fingers at just Eleanor. Eleanor took Nuri's pillow once Nuri was eliminated from the game, which everyone thought that was like so chilling and so cold. But come on, it wasn't like Nuri actually got harmed, she was just eliminated from the game. Everyone, chillax, it's just a pillow. The group is so set on Eleanor being the killer that I feel like Jason Voorhees could be a camper at the camp and everyone would still think it's Eleanor. I can't believe Eleanor would laugh like that on an explosion. Like, she gives me the heebie-jeebies. What about you? You know, to be honest, on the bus, I didn't think we would have anything in common, but you were telling me about how growing up you would collect stamps, and I told you I was collecting coins. We're both huge It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia fans. We bonded over knowing all the lyrics of Skater Boy, and we loved to paint. Wait a minute. I just realized Eleanor used Nuri's pillow last night. She is so the killer. Who does that? We move on to episode 2, where the money challenge is called All Tied Up. The campers only get 3 people across, getting a total of $1,000 in their bank, while there's $2,000 left up for grabs, and so that goes straight into the killer's bank account. And one person stands out as a big, dry, sore thumb, and that is Rob.
Rob, I don't know if you did much. You're not even wet.
It was genuinely hard.
Next up, we have the clue challenge, where even though nobody can stand upright on their paddleboard,
Oh, finally, Rob does something. And that's something sucks.
Warren is able to beast this out for the blue team, and they win the clues. When taking a look at the second set of clues, we get clue number 1, the killer has had sex on a balcony. Clue number 2, they would rate themselves a 5 out of 10. Clue number 3, the killer likes to talk over people, a little bit of mansplaining. And clue number 4, used to do taxidermy. Again, we haven't really listened into any of the conversation, so what are we supposed to do with any of this? Also, I find it interesting that somebody who has had sex on a balcony would also rate themselves a 5 out of 10. Hey, beauty begins the moment you decide to be yourself. Coco Chanel. We move on to the campfire ceremony, where Warren and Carl are at risk and they are sent into opposite directions, and Warren gets a marble dong to his eye and is killed that way. Now in episode 3, this is when things get extra spicy. This is where the campers are able to snap back, because at the campfire ceremony, the campers will be able to get to vote who they think is the killer and vote them out of the camp. We are in episode 3 of 5. There's no way that they are gonna get this thing right tonight, or the game would be over. So let's just see how this is gonna unfold. We get to the cash challenge, where they have to grab buoys or buoys.
I don't know why we're wasting life jackets on these people when we're just gonna kill them later.
Bring them back and then try to get them into the ring. Only half the players get their buoys in the ring, and it brings their total up to a whopping $26.50, where the killer has an astounding $6,350. The campers are absolutely pathetic. Then we get to the clue challenge, which is a pretty tame who said what in their confessionals.
And I really like Carl. He's funny and he's got banter, but I don't know if I can trust him.
The most controversial one would be Sean.
I did say that.
Where the blue team gets all 4 questions right, because it was that predictable. But these clues are absolutely important and vital, as they could really set in a strong target on somebody right before tonight's voting ceremony. Now, clue number 1.
Killer hates peas.
Clue number 2.
Wanted to be an astronaut when they were growing up.
Which then leads to Carl saying my NASA stripper name.
I think Rob looks a bit astronaut-y.
I don't know what that means.
Clue number 3.
People usually assume the killer is not straight.
And clue number 4.
So the killer can't live without films.
Which that clue directly points to one person, and that is Rob, who works in a cinema. And like I mentioned earlier, this is only episode 3. If everything is pointing at Rob, that I feel is a huge misdirection, because there's no way that if they vote out Rob, he is going to be the killer. And what are they gonna do? Like, is the show just gonna end in episode 3? We have 2 more episodes. But I'm sure at the campfire ceremony, everyone's just gonna latch onto that one clue. All vote Rob, which, let's go look at the votes. Rob, Rob, Rob. Yep, everyone just decides to vote Rob, and there's no way he's the killer. So guess what? You have an innocent person's blood on your hands, and you're gonna have to live with it.
Are you the killer?
I can reveal that I am
The killer.
Wait,
well, everyone, it's been an absolute pleasure manipulating, lying to you, and murdering all your friends. But well done. I probably would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you meddling kids.
Whoa. So, Rob is the killer, and he's taken away in a sheriff's car, and then we see him murdered by handyman Bruce. So, I guess with a couple of days left in the show and filming, I guess the rest of the campers can hang out, chill out, try to get some extra dough, and then leave safely, right?
Wrong!
Of course not, and of course this is a twist where there is a second killer in the camp.
There has been a second killer amongst you this whole time. Great twist, huh?
They so pushed Rob under the bus with that love of cinema clue just so that they could surprise the campers and us at home that there was a second killer twist. Look at my face. Am I looked surprised? Now we move on to episode 4, where we're back to the normal format, where the new killer, I guess there was always 2 killers, the co-killer, who is now riding solo, or I guess killing solo, will be striking tonight and sending 2 campers off and killing one of them. But we have to get to the 3 challenges, and the cash challenge is that what's in the box challenge that happened back in like 2017.
Oh, it's very squishy.
The campers are like a well-oiled machine, and they cash in a total of $3,000 in their bank, and no money goes to the killer. So it looks like the killer is taking an L on this one to keep the heat away from them. Now for the clue challenge, everyone plays a round of 1v1 blindfolded dodgeball, which is pretty entertaining if I do say so myself, where clue number 1 is that the killer is a member of the Mile High Club. Everyone is looking and pointing their fingers at Sam because Sam has been the most open and honest about his sexual past and sexual history and his sexuality, and I think it's being used against him, and I don't like it whatsoever because I feel like they're just honing in on that.
He told me that he ramped on a balcony before.
Just because a man ramped on a balcony doesn't mean that he's a killer. If anything, it means that he's a lover. Clue number 2 is that the killer is an animal lover, which then people point to Sam because he's the vegan, because he doesn't eat meat or anything that comes from an animal, must mean that he's the one that loves animals the most. And can I just say that just because you're a meat eater doesn't mean that you don't love animals any less. It just means that you love how some of the animals taste too. Clue number 3 is that the killer's favorite attribute about themselves is their eyes. And everyone says that Sam has really beautiful eyes, he has blue eyes, and as you can tell from how I'm talking and how I'm giving the clues, I'm not so sure that it is Sam who is the killer. It just seems like all the clues just happen to fit him rather perfectly, almost too perfectly. We move on to the final immunity challenge of the season, where they take a page out of Stephen King's Carrie, where they have to hold up a bucket of blood with a mop broom handle, and then they have to try to circumvent sabotages, being the last one left, not having red disgusting stuff all over themselves. Holly is able to win, she gets immunity, and then she also gives immunity to Eleanor. Now this campfire ceremony will be the final time that the killer will be able to strike and take out somebody from the game. The killer chose Jax and Rosie to be heading off into the woods, and they split paths, where then Rosie is electrocuted by Handyman Bruce when she is in a hot tub, and he throws a giant like boombox in there with her, which I have to give it to Bobby for this campfire ceremony because he is at his absolute A game.
Within a few seconds, the camper was charred, fried, poached, and boiled like a tomato beef stew. Yucky!
And it leads to one of my favorite parts of the series.
Gross, 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 gross. Gross, 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 gross.
Jax then rejoins the group to the 5th and final episode, where everyone is pretty much locked in and laser focused on Sam, but we have 2 more very important challenges to get through. The first one is the cash challenge called The Last Supper, where everyone's gonna have to pair up and they're gonna have to eat a meal within a 3-minute time limit. What did they have to eat, you may be asking? Well, in round 1, Carl and Jax had to eat 5 hot dogs in 3 minutes, but they had to feed each other the hot dogs as they couldn't use their own hands. In round 2, Eleanor and Sam drink 5 frothy onion milkshakes pretty easily within the 3 minutes, and they get a total of $1,000. And then we have Sean and Holly eating plum apple pie, except it was drenched in hot sauce, and they each got 1 slice down.
Eat it! Eat my meal!
Meaning that the total amount of money in the camper's bank is $7,550, where the killer has a total of $7,450. Now, if you break that down, there are 5 campers left. If they securely vote out the killer here, then they only get about $1,500 each and indigestion. We get the last 3 clues. Clue number 1.
Okay.
The killer goes to the gym 5 times a week.
Oh my god.
Clue number 2.
The killer lied about his job.
And clue number 3.
The killer is scared of spiders.
Now the trio that got these clues are now thinking that it could either be Sam or Carl. It's one or the other. Now when watching the show for the first time and coming into the final campfire ceremony, I had it narrowed down to 2 suspects, which was Carl and Sean. Going through the whole series and up to this point, nobody has really looked at them as suspects. And everybody's been so honed in that it can only be a guy, whether it's Sam, Rob, or Carl, that I was thinking, why can't it be a woman? Why couldn't it be Sean? This is 2021. Women can kill just as easily as men could. And if it is Sean who is the killer, she has played a fantastic game to where nobody has ever suspected her as the killer. And honestly, it is like the perfect strategy that she would send her best friend Rosie to die in the penultimate episode right before they would have to vote in who they thought the killer could be, because Rosie and Sean have been so close throughout this whole competition that if Rosie were to be sent in to die, it would be no way that people would suspect Sean. The only thing that she could have done that could have been better was sent in Carl to be eliminated, but she might think that like, oh, I want to have a relationship with him outside the show, and you really can't date a dead person, at least legally. We move on to the final campfire, and everyone is voting, and they foolishly vote Sam. I mean, everybody does it.
Are you the killer?
I can reveal that I am not the killer.
Of course he's not the killer. That would be too easy. Now, Sean is going to wipe the tears from her eyes. She's going to stand up and she's going to proudly proclaim that she is the killer. She has killed everybody and she is going to take home $7,450.
I am the killer.
Oh. I mean, that makes sense. I get half credit, right? I said that it was probably either Carl or Sean. Making it Carl is like so predictable and kind of like, meh. But that's it. That's how the show ends. Everyone feels betrayed.
You are so fake.
You're a dick.
And then Carl just walks off with a duffel bag of $7,450. Now, overall, I really liked the idea and the vibe of Killer Camp. It really got me thinking of like how great of a show it could have been. I just thought the execution was off a little bit. I thought they needed to let the show breathe a little bit more. I am a little hesitant about season 2 coming out this fall, as it is purely going to be a CW original, and I haven't cared about a CW show since when it was known back as the WB network. But I'm hoping for the best as I watch any and all garbage reality TV shows that I can get my hands on. My one wish is that they would get Bobby back as the camp counselor and host, as I thought he did a fantastic job. I turn it over to you. Did you watch Killer Camp when it first premiered or when it was on the CW? Let me know that in the comments section below. If you didn't and you watched this whole video, what'd you think about it? Were you intrigued about it? Are you gonna watch season 2? Let me know that as well. Also, if you like this kind of video and commentary, I am open to any and all reality TV shows that are good and bad, and you would like to see me do a commentary video on. Let me know what the show is and where I can watch it down in the comments section below. I look forward to it, as I look forward to watching any and all reality TV shows, whether I know them or not. I'm always willing to give anything and everything a try. But while you're down there, hit that like and subscribe button. I'll be back really soon with more reality TV content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.